Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third set of regulation that we will be reviewing today, Friday, 18th June 2021. That's also the last day of our public participation forum. We have so far handled the draft civil aviation radio navigation aids regulations 2021, the draft civil aviation communication procedures 2021, and now we are going through the draft civil aviation air traffic services regulations 2021. We'll be guided by our Mr. Evans Ogochi, who's a senior air traffic management inspector, who will take us through this set of regulations. As we have been repeating, we've put out a polls request that's on the top right hand side of the screen. Please let us have your feedback on the platform that has been used for this public participation forum, as well as the conduct of this public participation forum. This feedback is important as it will help us in making decisions in all future stakeholder engagements. Also, under the questions tab, please indicate if you intend to make any oral presentations. Indicate so, and an opportunity will be presented for you to take the stage and address the forum. You can also write your questions there, and we will be able to respond to all the questions that have been raised. Also, for those who have who are following us live on Facebook, we still continue taking your requests, as your comments, and the same will be channeled to the panelists and presented, and a comment given after the end of the presentation. So to take us through this particular set of regulations, let me invite on stage Mr. Evans Ogochi to take us through the draft civil aviation air traffic services regulation. Mr. Evans Ogochi is our senior air traffic management inspector. Karibu on stage, Bwana Ogochi.
Thank you, Bwana Dennis Kimani. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to present to you the matrix of the changes that have been proposed to the Civil Aviation Air Traffic Services Regulations 2021. I'd like to state from the onset that as a state, Kenya has not filed major differences with provisions of Annex 11. And so the changes that we are presenting today are basically motivated by Amendment number 51 and 52 of Annex 11 to the ICAO Convention. Allow me to share my document with you. Okay, it's not full screen. Okay, the first proposed amendment is to the citation. The current regulations, that is the Civil Aviation Air Traffic Services Regulations 2018, will be changed to the Civil Aviation Air Traffic Services Regulations 2021 so that it can be current. Under the definitions, we have new terminologies that have been defined as per ICAO Amendment number 51 to Annex 11. The first one is data accuracy. The second one is data integrity, into brackets assurance level. The third one has been enhanced, that is data quality. The definition exists in the current applicable regulations, but it has been amended by including what you can see highlighted in yellow, or equivalent assurance level, traceability, timeliness, completeness, and format. So that regulation, or that definition, has been enhanced, and that is the proposal that is given to be included in the 2021 regulations. And then we didn't have a definition on aerodrome traffic. This is because when the Civil Aviation Air Traffic Services Regulations 2018 were promulgated, that definition was inadvertently omitted, and so it's not been there, as well as the aeronautical fixed service definition. So those two have been added or brought back into the proposed regulations that we are presenting today. And then there was a definition on alternate aerodrome. As per the annex, the alternate aerodrome definition is not complete if you have not described the types of alternate aerodromes there are. There are 3 in number. And so as per the current regulations, that is the 2018 regulations, the alternate aerodrome definition was mutilated, and it was put down as separate units. That is the alternate aerodrome defined on its own, the takeoff alternate on its own, en route alternate on its own, and the destination aerodrome on its own. So this has been amalgamated into one definition as per requirement. Then the same thing applies to the automatic terminal information service. That is, it was also separated into 3 different definitions. So these components have been brought back together into one definition as per the standard. We also have the same case applying with the waypoint, which has also been put together to define the waypoint and give the 2 types of waypoint, that is fly-by waypoint and fly-over waypoint. On regulation number 11, on performance-based navigation operations, there was a change that was made. Whenever the word prescribed appears, it is being changed to reflect specified as the role of the regulator. This was actually advised by the counsels from the Attorney General's office, so as to comply with the procedures and requirements of drafting the regulation. So the regulator's role has been changed from prescribing to specifying, and that is basically what concerns the whole regulation number 11. That is the amendment that is being done. The same applies with regulation number 12, performance-based communication operations, where the word prescribe has been replaced with the word specify as per the guidance from the Attorney General's office. That is the same case still with performance-based surveillance operations, regulation number 13. And then number 14, regulation number 14, was amended for clarity so that it reads air traffic services shall be provided by units established and designated as follows. The rest of the content remains the same. So it was just a slight amendment to the first part so that it can be made clearer. On regulation number 15, there were amendments on regulation number 4 and 8, which have reference to the Civil Aviation Air Traffic Service Regulations 2018, so that it can reflect the current regulations, Civil Aviation Air Traffic Service Regulations 2021. Subregulation number 10 was numbered as number 5. That has also been corrected to reflect correct numbering of the sub-regulations. Under regulation number 17, sub-regulation 6, there is an amendment that has been made so that the regulation can become current. That is, sub-regulation 6 makes reference to the Civil Aviation Air Traffic Services Regulations Rules of the Air Regulations 2018. That has been amended by deleting the year 2018. In regulation number 20, there was a very minor amendment that was made, which was actually grammatical in nature, so that the regulation can become clear under subregulation 1, where you can see the regulation has been changed to read: changeover points shall be established on ATS routes segments defined by reference to very high frequency omnidirectional radio ranges, where these will assist in accurate navigation along the route segments. The word "in" had been omitted in the earlier regulations, that is the current 2018 regulations. Then regulation number 23 also has an amendment in subregulation number 5 for currency, and to give it more clarity, whereby the reference to the 2018 KCAS has been removed from the regulation. And as you can see, there is some little content that has been added that is highlighted towards the end, and to eliminate or reduce the need for interception. So the whole sub-regulation has been amended so that it can be kept current and it becomes more clearer. Regulation 24, sub-regulation 2, makes reference to the Civil Aviation Aeronautical Information Services Regulations 2018. This has been amended for currency. Regulation 24 as new provisions, that is sub-regulation, starting from sub-regulation number 11, which is an inclusion of the requirement for risk assessment reports and promulgation of information concerning activities related to risk assessment. And so this has been necessitated by ICAO amendment number 52. So we have sub-regulation 11 and sub-regulation number 12, which reads that the ATS provider shall ensure that the organization or unit conducting or identifying activities potentially hazardous to civil aircraft contributes to the safety risk assessment by providing reports in order to facilitate consideration of all relevant safety significant factors. So sub-regulation 11 and 12 are new provisions that put the requirement for carrying out risk assessment and providing the reports of risk assessment. Regulation 25 on aeronautical data has actually been compressed, and this has been occasioned by Amendment 52, whereby much of the data that was contained within that regulation has been transferred to the Civil Aviation AIS regulation, the main requirement having been transferred from Annex 11 to Annex 15 to the Convention on International Civil Aviation Organization. And then the fifth schedule in the 2018 KCAS, that is Air Traffic Service Regulations 2018, has been entirely moved to PANSDOC 10066. So that is actually about that. And then we have Regulation 27, where the requirements were obscured. They were not coming out very clear. And so the whole regulation has been amended to comply with legislative drafting format. The content remains the same, but the drafting has been done to comply with the applicable requirements. Sorry. Then we have regulation number 57, sub-regulation number 6. There is also an amendment that has been done because the fifth schedule has been moved to ICAO Doc 10066. And then sub-regulation 4 has been inserted in the regulation, meaning that sub-regulation 6 moves to number 7, and so there is a renumbering that has been done on that. The source document for that was ICAO amendment number 51. Then regulation number 34 on safety management has new provisions that have been brought on board so as to incorporate requirements for safety reviews, safety assessment, and keeping of records, which is a regulatory requirement that is necessary to enable the state to close an ICAO corrective action plan. Then we also have regulation number 35 on fatigue management. The current regulation appears to be speaking to the authority, whereas the regulation is supposed to be giving a requirement to be complied with to the service provider. So an amendment has been done to that effect, but I also would like to state that consultations are still ongoing. This regulation is being amplified, and we believe that by the time the regulations are promulgated, or by the time there is a next engagement like this, we will have a more comprehensive regulation that covers fatigue management in air traffic services. We also have some little amendment to regulation number 39, sub-regulation 1. There was a reference made to the KCAS 2018, which has been rectified in the current regulations that we are proposing, and also a slight amendment to sub-regulation 1 to make it read that the air traffic services provider shall ensure that air traffic controllers speak and understand the English language. The current regulations talks of languages. So there is a specific reference to the English language because that is the language that is used in air traffic control, radio telephony. And then regulation 41 has been amended for clarity. The current regulation talks of all prohibited, but the regulation has been made clearer by referring to each prohibited, restricted, or danger area shall upon initial establishment be given an identification and have its full details promulgated by the authority. Then regulation 45, there was a reference to the KCAS 2018, which has also been amended for clarity. Regulation 46, subregulation 1B, amended for clarity. And regulation 53 deals with readback of clearances and safety-related information. It has been amended to correct grammatical errors. In subregulation 2, there was a misspelling of the word weather, which has since been corrected. And also, subregulation 5 has been corrected to give preeminence to the subject that is being addressed by the requirements. The same regulation 53 has new provisions from subregulation number 6, 7, and 8, so that the regulation has been enhanced by adding those subregulations to incorporate a requirement for readback of safety-related parts of ATC instructions that are given to drivers of vehicles operating on the maneuvering area, and the requirement that ATC listens to the readback to confirm that the readback is correct. This has been occasioned by a KO Amendment 52 to Annex number 11. Then regulation 54 has also been amended, particularly subregulation 3, which has been amended to separate requirements which were clumped together in one subregulation. And subregulations number 5, 9, 10, and 11 have also been amended for clarity. Regulation 56 on control of persons and vehicles on aerodromes still has the new provision, which reads subject to subregulation 5 above, where the runway safety program has been established, the air traffic service provider shall ensure that the program is implemented and records are kept. So this subregulation has been added here to ensure that when the service provider establishes runway safety programs, the program is implemented and records are kept. Regulation 58 has been amended for currency and clarity. That is, the reference to the KCAS 2018 has been removed, and the regulation has been given more clarity through these amendments. Regulation 59 has been amended for clarity and also to comply with legislative drafting format. Regulation 62 also amended for currency. Regulation 63 amended to comply with legislative drafting format. Regulation 64, two requirements were jumbled together in sub-regulation 10. These have since been separated into two separate sub-regulations. That is sub-regulation 10 and 11. And then regulation 72, number 1, goes back to what we handled earlier about prescribing and specifying. The regulator's role has been amended to that of specifying instead of prescribing. Regulation 77 amended to comply with legislative drafting formats. The content remains the same. And Regulation 82, an amendment has been done to the side note where there was a repetition of words. Regulation 82, sub-regulation 4 and 7, requirements were obscured. That has been amended to make the requirements more clearer. Then Regulation 84 has been amended to spell out the ATS provider as the one that the regulation addresses. So this is a requirement on the air traffic service provider that was not coming out clearly on the regulation the way it is currently. Regulation 86, the subject was equally obscured, and that has been amended so that the requirement comes out more clearly. Regulation 87 has been amended for currency and to make it more clearer. Regulation 88, the same case applies, as does regulation number 89. And Regulation 90, the two requirements are jumbled together. That has been since split to make the requirements come out in a clearer way. Regulation 93, 94 have been amended for clarity, as has been with regulation number 95, 96 as well. The fifth schedule, which dealt with aeronautical data quality requirements, has been deleted since this has been moved to ICAO Doc 10066. Then the ninth schedule is missing in the current regulations, and so this is a new schedule that has been brought on board to amplify the requirements of regulation number 34 on safety reviews. Because of the deletion of regulation number on the fifth schedule, there is a renumbering of the other schedules so that the sixth schedule comes to be the fifth schedule, and that goes on, and then the new schedule on safety reviews takes the number 9 slot. The table of contents has also been reviewed. There was a gap in the parts of the table of content, which has been corrected in these amendments. There were a number of formatting and spelling errors that have since been corrected in the current amendment. And finally, the promulgation date will change in the current regulations from what applies in the KCAS 2018. I think that is the end of the presentation on the amendments. At this point, I would like to note that we have received a memorandum from the Air Traffic Services Department, which we appreciate. There are quite a number of issues in the memorandum that we are looking at. We will ensure that everything that has been raised is handled in coordination with the air traffic service provider, so that by the time we come up with a reviewed document before promulgation, we will have a coordinated approach and an agreement of whatever is in the regulations. There are quite a number of that, a number of those, and we really appreciate for the engagement that is ongoing with the air traffic service provider. Back to you, moderator.
Thank you very much, Bwana Ivan Sogochi, for taking us through the, sorry. Thank you very much, Bwana Ivan Sogochi, for taking us through this set of regulations that we've just concluded. These are the Civil Aviation Air Traffic Services regulations. We are inviting comments or questions on the regulations that have just been presented, or any other set of regulations that might have been presented. Kindly let us have your input and comments. This you can do by typing the question under the Ask a New Question tab, and the same will be responded to by the moderator. Or you can ask for the floor, and once you indicate, we will invite you to participate and give your oral submissions during this forum, and you'll be able to address the meeting. I can see no questions raised so far, but Ogochi has also responded to the input and comments that have so far been received through the dedicated KCAA email address. That's kcas2021@kcaa.or.ke. As we wait for any questions or comments coming in, I'd like to remind the meeting that we have requested for your feedback under the polls session. Hold on. Apologies for that. Apologies for that break. Sorry. We have requested for your feedback. On the top right-hand side of your screen, there is a polls section. The poll has a number of questions that we kindly request your feedback on. This will enable us better prepare for any other future upcoming sessions touching on public participation, as well as handling quite a huge number of participants, as we have seen during this past 1 week. So under the poll session, there are a number of questions touching on the various elements from the presenters who are here during the various set of regulations to the platform that was used. So as we await for questions, I can see there is a comment from one Paul Mugi. He's asking, is the PEL session comments being received now? Bwana Mugi, the PEL session is the next one that we are getting into. The same will be handled together with the draft Civil Aviation Communication Systems Regulations 2021. This will be starting at 11:30 sharp. So it's during this session that we'll be able to handle the personnel licensing regulations that is being presented for the second time, owing to the requests that we have received from the public to redo the draft civil aviation personnel licensing regulations 2021. I'd also take this opportunity to request all the ones who are following on Facebook, we are live and your comments are being received and channeled to the various panelists. I cannot see any at the moment. We have received a question on, though not related to the drafting to the draft civil aviation regulations. It's touching on the resumptions of flight to India. We have requested for an appropriate response to this, and we'll try our level best to respond to that. So there's a separate question that has been asked by still on our Facebook platform. We will be channeling it to the right panelist for purposes of response to this question. As we wait, please let us have your written comments, or if you wish to take the floor and address the meeting, kindly indicate so under the questions tab and we'll activate your participation option. For now, we haven't received any as of yet. Please note that the review of the civil aviation personnel licensing regulations will start at 11:30. We will have the panelists on stage to respond to any of the questions, any of the additional questions that might have come in during the past 1 week. In case you have any additional questions, please feel free to send the same to the platform kcaa.or.kcas 2021 at kcaa.or.ke. So we are still waiting for your comments and input on these draft regulations 2021. Please note that you may raise any questions touching on any of the regulations that have been presented to date, and after which they will be directed to the panelist for purposes of a response. And also, as we had mentioned, we will be collating all the input and comments that we have received, and you will be able to see the response. I mean, you will be able to see what has been taken on board and what has made it to the final set of the draft civil aviation 2021 regulations that we intend to promulgate at the earliest. So we still wait for your comments. I also wish to confirm that for all those who have registered for this particular session, we have picked out your email addresses. Once the tabulated matrices are out showing the comments and the response from KCA are out, you will be notified so using the appropriate email address or the email address that you used for purposes of registration. So at this stage, we are still waiting for any comments before we transition into the next session, which is the draft civil aviation communication systems regulations, together with the draft civil aviation personnel licensing regulations. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you one more time on how to switch from this particular session to the next session. You can do so by following the link that has been set up there. You won't need to register again. When you click on the session, when you click on the link that has been put there, you will be able to move to the next session, which is the draft civil aviation communication system regulations, as well as the draft civil aviation personnel licensing regulations. In case of any questions, kindly indicate so under the comments button, and you will get an opportunity to address the forum that we are having. Okay, so let me invite one of my colleagues to make a comment. Bwana Richard Cherop, you have indicated an interest to address the forum. We have activated your participation link. Kindly accept the same and let us have your comments and inputs. Bwana Cherop. Okay, as we are waiting for Mr. Cherop to come on board and give us some remarks on this, just a reminder, please follow the link that has been posted under the questions section. This will enable you transit to the next session that is starting in about 15 minutes time, which is the draft civil aviation communication system regulations, together with the draft civil aviation personnel licensing regulations 2021. Bwana Cherop, kindly accept the invitation to participate for purposes of addressing the forum. However, if you're not able to do so, we can still take your comments during the next session that is starting in 15 minutes time. And we will be taken through the session by Mr. Porter Soganga, who's the Chief CNS Inspector. You can see we are having some challenges with getting Bwana Cherop on time. So ladies and gentlemen, kindly allow me to end this session as we join in the next session at 11:30 sharp. Thank you very much. Asanteni.